Good morning. This is the Morning Signal Preparedness Brief for Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Here's what's happening today, why it matters, and how to turn it into practical preparedness. Please like and subscribe to support this brief. The lead global development remains Iran. Iran is experiencing sustained nationwide unrest that many observers now describe as revolutionary in character rather than episodic protest. In response, the Iranian government has imposed broad internet shutdowns and communication restrictions, with reports of rolling power disruptions in some areas. These are not crowd control measures. They are regime survival actions intended to break coordination and control the narrative. This matters well beyond Iran. History shows that when a government cuts communications at scale, it signals loss of confidence in internal control and raises the risk of rapid escalation, spillover instability, cyber activity, and energy or shipping disruptions. The preparedness takeaway for this is that communications are often the first thing restricted or degraded in a crisis. This is a good moment to diversify how you stay in touch. Off-grid options like GMRS radios, local ham repeaters, or mesh-based systems such as Meshtastic allow short-range coordination without cellular networks. Even a small local mesh covering a neighborhood or preparedness group significantly increases resilience. In Eastern Europe, the war in Ukraine continues to focus on transportation and energy infrastructure rather than population centers. There are no confirmed changes in NATO force posture, but sustained system pressures remain the defining feature. Infrastructure wars don't produce immediate collapse, they create long, protracted, uneven degradation. Energy pricing, logistics delays, and cyber activity usually reflect stress before maps change. The preparedness action for this is to reduce single points of failure. If power is interrupted for several days, identify what fails first in your household and address one weak link. Backup lighting, water storage, or battery power for communications at a time. In the Indo-Pacific, Chinese air and naval activity near Taiwan continues at a steady, deliberate pace. Officials describe this as a long-term pressure rather than imminent invasion. These campaigns are designed to normalize uncertainty and quietly affect shipping confidence, insurance behavior, and technology supply chains. The preparedness action for this is to avoid just-in-time dependence. For items you use weekly, such as food staples, pet supplies, and medications, aim for a 30 to 90-day buffer to start. This isn't hoarding, it's smoothing disruption. Turning to the United States, protesters linked to federal immigration enforcement actions continue across multiple cities following the fatal ICE shooting in Minneapolis. What began locally has become nationwide, with visible disagreement between federal agencies and state or city governments. This is primarily a mobility and access issue, not an ideological one. Sustained protests increase the likelihood of traffic disruptions, transit interruptions, temporary closures, and localized curfews, especially near downtown areas and federal buildings. The preparedness action, like previously, is basically the same. Practice avoidance and timing. No alternate routes for routine travel. Avoid downtown cores during peak protest hours. Keep vehicles fueled above half tank. If you're part of a mutual assistance group, confirm check-in procedures so people can account for one another if movement becomes restricted. Moving on to the developing geopolitical signal in the Arctic. Greenland has re-entered the spotlight after renewed U.S. political statements emphasizing its strategic importance. Greenland's leadership in Denmark have publicly pushed back, while European NATO members are signaling increased Arctic defense coordination. Preparedness takeaway from this is the Arctic developments are an early indicator of shifting global alignments. Watch diplomatic language, military basing discussions, and infrastructure investment more than headlines about territory. For economic indicators, gold, silver, and Bitcoin remain useful real-time stress gauges. At the time of this recording, gold's at $4,645, silver's at $92.60, and Bitcoin's at $95,070. Sharp moves in these assets often reflect fear, liquidity shifts, or loss of confidence rather than fundamentals. Preparedness action for this is that this is not about trading, it's about flexibility. Maintain emergency cash, manageable debt, and avoid obligations that reduce optionality during uncertain periods. The preparedness focus for today is mutual assistance. Preparedness scales through people, not gear alone. 3 to 5 households who know each other, communicate regularly, and share skills are more resilient than any individual stockpile. Actionable steps. Reach out to one trusted neighbor or friend this week. Start with conversation, not checklists. Discuss skills, resources, and communications. Stay aware, stay ready. This has been the Morning Signal.